What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the John Deere Classic. This tournament being held at TPC Deere Run, and it is very likely to be a birdie fest. This course is probably can be described as fairly easy. Very easy to hit greens, very easy to hit fairways. Let's talk about some of the key stats that I'm going with for this week. If you are new to this video series, again, this is the spreadsheet I put together every week. It's available on dfsondemand.com. It's got a lot of different tabs and cool information on here. One of the things that I compile is this key stats, and these are my key stats. And I have a spreadsheet that I'm hoping to release this week, if not next week, where you guys are going to be able to choose your own stats. Still working out a few kinks, but these are the ones that I'm going with for this week. We're going with driving accuracy. I told you it's easy to hit fairways, which usually would mean accuracy doesn't matter, but the fact is, like, even if you miss these fairways, it's really bad. And believe it or not, driving accuracy still does correlate with finishing position here, even though that everyone is going to hit a bunch of fairways. Greens in regulation is kind of a little bit of a different story. That doesn't necessarily correlate as well with finishing position, so I didn't want to go with greens in regulation. I think this is going to end up being a putting contest. I think this is where putters are going to excel. But I did want to have an approach statistic, so I went with strokes gained approach. Also, we have 3 par 5s. It is a par 71. And all 3 par 5s are between 550 and 600 yards, which is in itself a little rare. And of course, those are 2 of the holes that are yielding the most DraftKings points, or will be expected to yield the most DraftKings points. Number 10 is a par 5, but actually plays pretty tough, considering par 5s. There's actually a par 4 that surrenders or will likely surrender more DraftKings points. But I thought that since all 3 par 5s were kind of in this same range, and there's only 3 of them, I thought it was worth putting it in here. Additionally, I told you I think it's going to turn into a putting contest, right? Everyone's going to hit the greens. Who's going to get it in the hole faster? Let's go with strokes gained putting. And then birdie or better, I think you're going to have to make a ton of birdies and win this thing with a pretty low score. Let's see what's won it in the past here. Ryan Moore, 22 under last year. Jordan Spieth, 20 under, and Brian Harman, 22 under the year before that. So it's going to take a lot of birdies to win this thing. All right, so let's talk about some players. And there are 4 guys above 10,000, and they're all kind of interesting. So we've got Daniel Berger and Danny Lee, who I think are both going to be pretty chalky. I could not be upset with you for playing a bunch of either of these guys. So Berger, 2 out of his last 3 tournaments, he has a first and a second place. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but sure, a lot of guys did. So Daniel Berger, very likely to be popular, and I think he has, let's see his course history here. Oh, this is actually his first time playing. Okay, so let's check Danny Lee while we're here. Danny Lee, last time he teed it up here was a T3. Let's check the other guys too. Kisner, nothing special, 35th and a 20th. And then let's also check, who was the last one over 10,000? Kisner? Oh, Harman. Okay. Harman's going to be interesting. We're going to talk more about him, but he won this 3 years ago, missed the cut last year, had a top 25 in between. Okay, so I don't think you can go wrong with Berger or Lee in cash games. There is a little bit of concern around the industry, like, oh my gosh, Danny Lee plays every week. He's playing so much golf. Danny Lee plays a lot all the time. Danny Lee just plays a ton of golf. Like, he takes a week off from the PGA Tour and plays a ton of golf. So if the knock against Danny Lee is that he's playing really well lately and he's playing a lot lately, like, is that a knock? That's a good combination. But I'm seeing that narrative pop up, and one that I don't necessarily agree with, because Danny Lee just absolutely plays a ton of tournaments anyway. It doesn't matter. Another guy who plays a ton of tournaments is Brian Harman. And I'm going to show you a couple of visualizations here. And Brian Harman he's very likely my favorite player in this range. And let me show you a few visualizations why. Well, first, hold on. Let's check his logs here. So in his last 6 tournaments, he has a win, a T2, and a T7. Obviously pretty good. Now you could play it the other way and say, well, he hasn't played in 3 weeks. He's well rested. I don't know. Brian Harman plays a lot of golf. I'm sure he was playing a lot while he was taking a few weeks off from the PGA Tour as well. But let me show you a few of my visualizations here. And this is something I'm really excited about. This is something I've been working on that I am going to make public to you guys at some point when I have it all done. But I'm really excited about this. So what we have are a few visualizations, and adjust this so you can see it. What I'm showing you are all the game logs and all the finishes for these 4 guys, the 4 guys in this range for the last 5 tournaments. So, or I should say, yeah, it's the last 5 weeks. So it's from June 6th, which encompasses these 5 tournaments: the Greenbrier, the Quicken Loan, St. Jude, Travelers, and the U.S. Open. So some of these colors are kind of similar, but we can see here. So this purple down here at the bottom is Kevin Kisner. So Kevin Kisner, despite being highly touted, highly ranked for me, he's highly ranked again for me this week, has not performed well recently. So here's his 2 game logs. So Greenbrier Classic misses the cut, and a T58 at the U.S. Open. So those were the last 2 times that Kisner teed it up. So not particularly thrilled to be rostering him, but I think he does make for a very compelling GPP play. He was my #1 ranked golfer last week. He's my #1 ranked golfer again this week. He has all the stats. He is a very good golfer in a very weak field. And now you have probably a bunch of people who are exiting the ownership market of Kevin Kisner. That is when I want to buy, right? Like when there's blood in the streets, buy property. So Kisner for me will be, I'm willing to take on more risk in GPPs, but I'm aware of the risk I'm taking on when I'm rostering him. Here's Danny Lee. Danny Lee is this dark brown here. So again, plays a lot, but look at this. So for these 4 players, their average DraftKings score in this range is 69 DraftKings points. Danny Lee's gone 66, 92, 65, and 77. So basically at average or above average in every tournament he's played in this span. Hard to not like that. Brian Harman is this one, I think. Yeah, Brian Harman is this like lighter brown where he goes 93.5 and 74.5 in his last 2 outings. Again, he hasn't teed it up since what, the Travelers. And then here's Berger. So I think Berger's really chalky. I think he's going to be popular, but let's not get this wrong. He's pretty volatile, and this kind of represents it, right? Like just in the last 3 times he's teed it up, you're talking about a difference of 80 DraftKings points. Pretty significant, okay? And then let me show you something else here about, you know what? I'll get to that in a second. I'll show you that later. Okay. So that's the main range there. I like that top range, which I don't usually do. I think Harman's a good play. I think Kisner is a decent GPP play. Lee and Berger, they're fine in their own right. The next row is interesting. I don't love it. I think Kyle Stanley would be great. You know, we'll see how he reacts to coming off his first win. I'd be interested to see how he plays, but this is the type of field I'd expect him to do well in again. Sort of a weak field where I think putting prevails, and he's that type of guy. Ryan Moore. So we haven't seen Ryan Moore in nearly, 5 weeks? And we haven't seen him play well in quite some time. But he actually popped up on, I mean, remember, he had a top 10 at the Masters. Remember that he's right here. He's #2 in my key stats because the rounds that he has played, he's fit these metrics, right? He's really good in this par 5 range. He can make a ton of birdies, and he's your defending champion. So I'm interested to see what the ownership on a guy like Ryan Moore is going to be. And we're going to have to check out our buddies over at Fanshare Sports, where they kind of try to aggregate all the mentions around the industry and kind of help you with ownership. Ryan Moore is going to be interesting. Hasn't played a lot and hasn't played well when he has, but he's your defending champ. You know, he had a shoulder injury, right? So maybe that was the cause. If he's healthy now, maybe we can expect regular Ryan Moore where he goes out and he can shoot 22 under at this course like he did last year. So I'm waiting to hear what the rest of the industry has to say on him, but I would not be surprised if I'm overweight on Ryan Moore. This is not a great range here. I don't really love this, but something about Ben Martin. That could be a movie or a book, something about Ben Martin. I had a ton of Ben Martin last week. Goes 64, 67. He's in contention. What is he? I think he's in the final group or the final two groups on Saturday. Takes a triple on like the easiest hole on the course and shoots a 75 and basically never recovers. That's disappointing. I would have won a lot of money had Ben Martin been able to finish that, but I don't think we can write him off. I mean, one bad round, which is really, he was 5 over on Saturday. He was 3 over on one hole. So I'm not sure we can really write off Ben Martin too much here. And let's go back to these visualizations that I have. And I'm actually going to take you to another... Sorry, bear with me here. Okay. This is... Alright, this is the last 5 weeks, and it's total birdies. So we don't have a ton of these guys in the field. There's Danny Lee again. Okay, so Danny Lee, 62 birdies. He's only played 4 out of those 5 weeks, so he's in there. You can see Ben Martin's the first guy to pop up who's only played 3 tournaments. So in this range, Ben Martin has only played 3 of the 5, and he's made 50 birdies, which would be the most for a player of that who's played that number of tournaments. Now, we can switch birdies for... let's try DraftKings points. And let's sort this. And you see how kind of cool this is. I love this. So here we go. Oh, let's do average DraftKings points. Sorry. There we go. How cool was that? Okay, so guys who are actually in this field. So here was that Brian Harman. Brian Harman averaging 84 DraftKings points in this 5-week span. Here's Kyle Stanley. Here's Danny Lee. There's Daniel Berger. I mean, it's really interesting to see where these guys are at and how many tournaments that they've played. Here's Ben Martin. Okay, 72 DraftKings points in his last 3 tournaments. So a really compelling case there to buy back in on Ben Martin. If you noticed, Bryson DeChambeau popped up there on that visualizations for birdies. Dude's made a ton of birdies recently. You can see 19, 19, 17 in the last 3 weeks that he's teed it up. He's only $7,800. I don't play a lot of Bryson DeChambeau, but hard to argue with these results. And $7,800 in a fairly weak field has my attention. Johnson Wagner, I think, is interesting. So Wagner was a guy, we didn't have much of him. I don't think I had any of them. I didn't talk about him. But he was kind of being talked up at the Greenbrier. It was good history. It was, oh, he's coming off a T5. This is the most ownership he's going to have in his life. Johnson Wagner was talked up a lot, and he misses the cut. Why not forgive and forget? Like, if we liked him last week, has that much changed that we would like him again this week? And if we look him up, I think he shows up a couple of places here. Hold on, let me see if I can find him. Okay, here is, let's sort this sheet by the last 5 years at the John Deere Classic. So this is only the John Deere Classic, and it is by DraftKings points per round. Johnson Wagner, in his 3 times he's played it, has scored more DraftKings points per round than anybody in a 5-year stretch at the John Deere Classic. That's in this field. That's in this field. So this doesn't count Jordan Spieth or anybody. That's in this field. If you go to history, here's Wagner, the 10th best scoring average of anybody in this field who has played this tournament at least 3 times, and it's better recently. Okay, so here's Wagner. Last 3 outings, T5, T5, T7. So it was this stretch here, 2010, 09, 08, 07, that was brutal. But the last 3 times, he's been awesome. If all you guys in the industry liked him last week, and you played him and you went down with the ship, not that much has changed. Now you just get him at a low ownership. So I'm not like a huge Johnson Wagner fan, but if we were stewing, you know, if we were drinking the stew or whatever last week. I don't know why we're not doing it this week. All right. Getting down here. Wes Bryant, I think this is a really good field for him. So, remember at the Travelers, he goes 67, 67. He's top 5. Is he winning the thing? He's at the top of the leaderboard. Backs it up with a 75, 76. Falls basically to last place after the guys made the cut. Opened up poorly at the Quicken, but then shot 68, 71, 71. So, 4 or 5 of his last 8 rounds have been decent or great, and 3 have been absolutely terrible. This is the type of tournament I see Wes Bryant bouncing back. Kind of an accurate driver, excellent putter of the golf ball. $7,300 is a pretty good price for a guy that we know can win, considering he's already won this year. So Wes Bryant's got me intrigued a bit. And then there's a few more down here. Curtis Luck continues to be overlooked and under-owned. We've talked about him probably 5 or 6 weeks in a row. Go back and watch those videos. He keeps producing. I keep owning a lot of him, and he keeps paying off. All 4 rounds under 70 last week at the Greenbrier. That was with a T5 at the Quickens before that. Again, these guys, like we talked about last week with Xander Schauffele, who are playing for tour cards, who are playing for years of exemptions. Like, I know everyone's motivated at this point in the season, but they have to start taking advantage, and Curtis Luck is just a really, really good player. Down here gets a little scary. So I don't think I'm particularly interested in too many down here. These are the usual names, right? I think the lowest I'm probably going here is Alex Cejka, who makes a decent number of cuts, 12 and 19 this year, but the big thing is he fires a 64 on Sunday at the Greenbrier, which, I mean, bookends that tournament with really two really solid rounds, 66 and 64, ends up top 10ing this thing. So if you're just looking to ride the hot hand for cheap, Alex Cejka is certainly your guy. I used to play a lot of him on the Euro Tour, and I know he's been battling injuries a lot kind of over the last, maybe 6 or 7 months. I haven't played too much of him, but really good to see this. And again, if you're just looking for somebody to get hot and maybe take a top 10 away from somebody, Cejka might not be bad for 6,700. So there you go. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the comment box below, or tweet me. It's at DFS on Demand, and I will talk to you guys soon. See ya.